Hello everyone, and I hope you're having a wonderful day. Today, we're going to explore a heartfelt farming journey with Hen and Day as they take important steps toward building a stable and sustainable farm life. From protecting their garden with a solid fence and camera system, to carefully redesigning their vegetable beds and making the bold decision to raise thousands of chickens. This story is all about hard work, determination, and the dream of self-sufficiency. If you enjoy this kind of meaningful real-life story, don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you won't miss any of our upcoming videos. Today's story follows Hen and Day as they take some meaningful, carefully considered steps toward building a stable, sustainable farm life. From installing a strong steel fence and a camera system to protect their garden, to thoughtfully redesigning their vegetable beds for a brand new season, they're laying down a solid foundation for the future. This is a journey shaped by hard work, patience, and a quiet determination to create a life rooted in self-sufficiency and purpose. After many days of thinking things through and observing every small detail of the garden, Hen and Day slowly came to an important realization. If they truly wanted to start a new growing season the right way, simply planting seeds wouldn't be enough. This garden wasn't just a place to grow vegetables. It represented the foundation of their long-term life. It was where they planned to invest their labor, their hopes, and their simple dreams of a calm, peaceful future. Because of that, their very first major decision was to build a steel mesh fence around the entire garden. At first glance, installing a fence might seem like a practical, even ordinary task. But for Hen and Day, it carried a much deeper meaning. Before the fence existed, the garden was often disturbed. Wild animals from the nearby forest would occasionally wander in, damaging young vegetable beds. Chickens and ducks from neighboring households roamed freely across the land, scratching through the soil and trampling tender green shoots that had only just begun to sprout. More than once, Hen stood quietly at the edge of the garden, staring at rows of plants that had been ruined overnight. She felt a mix of regret and worry, wondering how they could ever move forward if their efforts kept being undone. Day understood her frustration. He knew that if they were serious about developing the farm, they needed clear boundaries. They needed protection, control, and a sense of order. The steel mesh fence became the answer. To them, the fence symbolized more than just security. It marked a turning point. It was a quiet statement that the garden had entered a new phase, one defined by intention, structure, and long-term stability. On the day they began installing it, Hen and Day carefully measured every meter of land. They discussed the ideal height and strength of the mesh, making sure it would be secure while still allowing the garden to feel open and welcoming. Day handled the heavier tasks. He dug deep holes and set the posts firmly into the ground, making sure each one was solid and aligned. Hen worked alongside him, stretching the steel mesh, adjusting every connection, and fastening each tie with patience and precision. Under the gentle morning sun, sweat formed on their foreheads, but neither of them complained. With every section of fence completed, a growing sense of reassurance settled in. Each meter felt like a promise that what they were building would protect many seasons of hard work ahead. Along with the fence, Hen and Day made another important decision: to install a camera surveillance system around the garden. At first, Hen felt unsure. She worried that modern technology might disrupt the rustic, peaceful feeling of the farm. But Day explained his perspective calmly. The cameras weren't just about preventing theft or unexpected problems. They could also be used to observe the garden from a distance, to watch how plants change throughout the day and night. Eventually, Hen agreed. Together, they carefully chose installation points that blended naturally into the surroundings. They wanted the cameras to be discreet, almost invisible, so the garden's natural beauty remained untouched. Once the system was up and running, Hen was surprised by how much she enjoyed it. In the evenings, while sitting inside the house, she could look at the screen and see the garden resting quietly under soft yellow lights. She could watch the beds lying still in the night breeze, or see morning dew sparkle on the leaves at dawn. The cameras no longer felt like cold mechanical devices. Instead, they became a pair of watchful eyes, keeping Hen and Day connected to the garden even when they weren't physically there. For Day, the system also offered practical benefits. He could quickly notice anything unusual and respond in time to protect the crops. With security finally in place, they felt ready to move on to the next stage. That next task was just as important: redesigning and reorganizing the vegetable garden for the upcoming season. In the past, their planting had relied mostly on habit and instinct. While that approach had worked to some extent, it often resulted in uneven beds and a layout that lacked structure. This time, they wanted to be more intentional. Hen brought out simple sketches she had drawn by hand. They showed a clear plan for dividing the garden into specific beds, each one assigned to certain vegetables based on seasonality and the family's needs. Day focused on improving the soil itself. He carefully turned over each bed, adding organic compost, checking moisture levels, and making sure the soil was loose and fertile. Every movement of the hoe felt purposeful. This wasn't just physical labor. It was preparation for a new cycle of growth. Hen followed behind him, pulling out weeds, reshaping the edges of the beds, and imagining how the garden would look once everything was planted. She pictured neat, orderly rows of green vegetables that would be easier to care for and harvest. Throughout the process, Hen and Day talked constantly. Sometimes they debated whether to dedicate more space to leafy greens or root vegetables. Other times, they discussed intercropping methods to make the best use of the land. These conversations weren't arguments, but thoughtful exchanges. In the end, they always found common ground because they shared the same goal. That goal wasn't just high yields. It was balance and sustainability. They didn't want to exhaust the land. They wanted to nurture it, treating the garden like a living system that needed care, rest, and time to renew itself. As the plan slowly came together, Hen stood in the center of the garden and looked around. The steel mesh fence provided strength and security. The camera system offered peace of mind. The freshly prepared soil lay quietly, waiting for seeds to be sown. Day stood beside her, smiling softly, as if he could already see a healthy, abundant harvest in the near future. In that moment, they both understood something important. They weren't just preparing for a new growing season. They were laying the groundwork for the life they had chosen, a life closely connected to the land, to honest work, to patience, and to the belief that good things, when carefully nurtured, would grow in their own time. After completing the careful planning and protection of the garden, Hen and Day turned their attention to a decision that would shape their livelihood for many years to come: raising chickens on a large scale. What began as a simple idea, keeping a small flock for fresh eggs, slowly evolved into something far more ambitious. Over time, that modest plan grew into a bold vision of raising thousands of chickens, creating a stable source of income while also providing clean, nutritious food for their own family. This was not a decision they made overnight. It came after many long conversations, careful calculations, and quiet moments of reflection. Both Hen and Day understood that farm life demanded commitment. If they were going to fully embrace it, they needed to think long-term and act with purpose. Raising chickens offered an opportunity to build economic stability while staying true to their values of self-sufficiency and respect for nature. They began by studying the land carefully, walking through different areas to determine the most suitable location for the chicken farm. The site needed to be far enough from the vegetable garden to maintain cleanliness and prevent contamination, yet close enough to manage efficiently on a daily basis. Once the location was chosen, their focus shifted to design and structure. Day concentrated on the technical aspects. He planned spacious, well-ventilated coops that would protect the chickens from harsh weather while allowing plenty of fresh air and natural light. He paid close attention to drainage, flooring, and waste management, knowing that hygiene would be critical for keeping such a large flock healthy. Every detail mattered. A small mistake could lead to serious problems later. Hen, meanwhile, focused on creating an environment that would reduce stress for the chickens. She believed that calm, well-cared-for animals would be healthier and more productive. She thought about spacing, lighting, and daily routines, imagining how the chickens would move, rest, and feed throughout the day. To her, this wasn't just about efficiency. It was about responsibility. As construction began, the true scale of the project became clear. One by one, rows of coops took shape, carefully aligned and equipped with feeding and watering systems designed to support thousands of birds. Hen spent hours researching feed formulas and vaccination schedules, making notes and comparing options. Day worked through the numbers, calculating daily expenses, long-term returns, and potential risks. They both understood that raising chickens in large numbers wasn't simply about quantity. It was about consistency, discipline, and care. Every decision they made would affect not only their finances, but the lives of the animals depending on them. This awareness added weight to their work, but it also strengthened their sense of purpose. When the first batch of chicks arrived, the farm was suddenly filled with sound and movement. Thousands of tiny birds chirped softly, creating an atmosphere that felt lively and overwhelming at the same time. Hen watched them closely, feeling a mix of excitement and nervousness. She wondered if they were truly ready for this responsibility. Day moved steadily through the coops, checking temperatures, adjusting equipment, and making sure everything functioned as planned. The early days were intense. They woke up before sunrise and often worked late into the night. Together, they learned to recognize subtle signs of illness or discomfort, responding quickly whenever something seemed off. Those first weeks tested both their physical strength and their mental endurance. There were moments of exhaustion and doubt, times when the workload felt endless. But slowly, their efforts began to pay off. The chickens grew stronger. Egg production increased steadily. Soon, baskets of fresh eggs became a daily sight on the farm. For Hen, collecting those eggs brought a deep sense of satisfaction. She knew they were clean, safe, and produced under humane conditions. These weren't just products to sell. They were the result of patience, care, and respect for life. Sharing the eggs at family meals or with neighbors reinforced her belief that this challenging path was also a meaningful one. Economically, the chicken farm brought a new sense of stability. The regular income from egg sales helped balance the uncertainties that often come with farming. It allowed Hen and Day to reinvest in better equipment, improve living conditions for the chickens, and gradually strengthen the entire system they were building. They had always valued self-reliance, and now they could see it taking shape in real, tangible ways. The combination of vegetable farming and poultry raising created a balanced cycle. Waste from the chickens could be reused as fertilizer for the garden, while leftover vegetables could supplement feed. Resources were managed thoughtfully, with as little waste as possible. Over time, raising thousands of chickens became more than a business venture. It became part of their daily rhythm. Each morning began with familiar routines: checking the coops, refilling feed, collecting eggs. Each evening ended with quiet inspections, making sure everything was settled for the night. These shared routines strengthened their partnership. Working side by side every day deepened their understanding of each other and reinforced their connection to the land. There was comfort in the repetition, in knowing that their efforts had purpose and direction. At the end of long days, Hen and Day often stood together, listening to the soft rustling and gentle clucking as the farm settled into rest. In those moments, they felt a quiet confidence. They knew the road ahead wouldn't always be easy. Farming never was. There would be challenges, setbacks, and unexpected difficulties. But they also knew that through cooperation, perseverance, and a shared vision, they were building something real, something lasting, a future that offered not only economic security, but emotional fulfillment as well. This farm wasn't just a place to work. It was a life they were shaping with their own hands, one careful decision at a time. Thank you for spending this time with us and following Hen and Day's journey. If you enjoyed this story and want to see what comes next, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Your support truly means a lot and helps us continue bringing you stories like this. Have a wonderful day, take care, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye. This story follows Hen and Day as they carefully
Trong câu
build
chuyện
a
cảm động
sustainable
này,
farm life,
Huyền đoàn tụ với
step
Đệ
by step.
sau nhiều tháng
They
xa cách.
begin by
Mối dây
protecting
liên kết
their
của họ
garden with
được
a strong
củng cố
steel
bởi sự
fence
vắng mặt
and
và
a
tình yêu
discreet
bền vững.
camera system,
Cùng nhau, họ tập trung chăm sóc
turning
cô
an
gái Maya,
unprotected
xây
space
dựng một
into
mái
a
ấm an
secure
toàn, tràn đầy yêu
foundation
thương.
for the future.
Đồng thời, hỗ
With
trợ Tử
safety in
Vi,
place,
một cô gái trẻ
they
đang đối mặt
redesign
khó
their
khăn.
vegetable beds,
Những khoảnh khắc gia
improve
đình
the
chuẩn bị
soil,
bữa ăn,
and plan
dựng lên
each
một cấu
planting
trúc cho
area
Maya
with balance and
và chia
long-term
sẻ tiếng cười.
sustainability in mind.
Phản
Their
ánh tình
journey
yêu sâu
then
sắc
takes a
và sự
bold
quan tâm
turn
lẫn nhau trong gia
as they
đình.
decide
Tuy
to
nhiên,
raise thousands of
sự bình
chickens,
yên của họ gián đoạn khi
transforming a
những kẻ
small
xâm lấn xuất
idea
hiện,
into a
tìm kiếm
reliable
Tử
source
Vi
of
và
clean
làm nổi
food
bật
and
sự mong
stable
manh
income.
và những nguy hiểm mà họ phải đối
Through
mặt.
long days,
Những
early
căng thẳng
mornings,
và bất định,
and constant
Huyền
learning,
và Đệ lên kế
their
hoạch cho một
farm
tương lai an
slowly
toàn hơn.
becomes a
Quyết định
self-sustaining
trở về
system
miền Bắc để gần
rooted in
gũi hơn với gia
patience,
đình và mang lại sự ổn
responsibility,
định cho
and
Maya.
cooperation.
Qua những thử thách, mối đe
But
dọa
as the
và
farm
những
grows and new
kết
challenges
nối chân
appear,
thành,
an
câu chuyện
even
ca
bigger
ngợi sức mạnh
question
tình yêu,
remains:
gia đình và sự kiên
how
cường trong công
far
việc,
can this
tạo
simple
dựng hy vọng
dream
và an
truly
toàn.
go?